The neck is a very delicate area, but most of us carry a lot of tension here. And a lot of times it has to do with our orientation or our structure, alignment, or lack thereof, and our breathing mechanics. So, as we talked about in our breathing section, if we're not using our primary breathing muscles and we don't have the capacity to bring air into our cylinder, then our accessory breathing muscles overwork and they can develop a hypertonic state. So when we try to do soft tissue on them, a lot of times it might feel better for a time being, and then it will just get really sore, and then the pain or tension will come back. And that's because nothing else has changed. So if we want true change within the accessory breathing muscles of the neck and the upper chest, we have to make sure we're working our breathing mechanics at the same time. So you're gonna explore your cars, your full range of motion, right? And when you find areas of restriction, as long as it's not closing angle joint pain, and just to refer back to what closing angle joint pain is, it's the side you're moving to, you feel some sort of pinch or pain. So if I was moving to the right, I would feel a pinch over here. Fortunately, I don't. I feel stretch. That's what we want. We should always feel the lengthening tissue, not pinching on the closing tissue. So if we feel stretch, we can work that tissue. But first you want to try to tune into your breath. Make sure you're using your diaphragm. Make sure your ribs are expanding. Maybe you do some of the back interventions, some stuff on the QL, stuff on the erectors and around the ribs to make sure that all those tissues are free, the lats as well. When you have the ability to expand better, and then you work the neck structures, there's more opportunity for lasting benefit. So let's say my breathing is pretty good and I want to start to work in the tissues. I think your hands are your best tool when it comes to the neck, because you can really feel what's going on. You can make sure you're not on your pulse. If you feel a pulse, move off of it. And you can really be specific about the tissues you're on. So one of the accessory breathing muscles are scalenes, and there are 3 heads to the scalene. And you can feel as you move where the tension is. And then you can just create some directional load down or up to help the tissue move while you're in the lengthened position. And from here we can move on to our pails and rails and stuff. But for most people, working the shoulders and the spine tissues and restoring breathing is magic for the neck. So you can do the tissue work on the neck, and for sure we want to get into the pails and rails and make sure we're doing our cars. But most importantly, the orientation below the neck has to be ideal for the neck to be supported and not feel guarded. So emphasize the breathing, emphasize the orientation of your body, everything else below, and the head, once the head sits normal above the spine as it should, you're gonna feel a lot of that tension dissipate. Also for the front of the neck, if we feel tension moving into extension, we can take a broad contact with our knuckles and directionally load down. Don't push in, you're just directionally loading down. And we can work our platysma and our SCM, our sternocleidomastoid muscles there. You can also add some rotation. So if you are doing your cars and you feel maybe one SCM more than the other, you can work that one and then lean away and rotate toward. Or use the opposite hand if you feel like you're shrugging too much. And once again, use your assessment for your guide. If you feel tension in a certain area, you want to go to that area and work that a little bit. Go back to your breath, assess again, and see if you have a little bit more freedom. This daily practice of assessing, intervention, movement is really what's gonna make the biggest difference. If you're struggling with your fingers on your neck, you can use a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball or something that has a little bit of friction to it, or you can grab your tissues. This will just be easier on your fingers. You know, not everybody has manual therapist hands. So use that, but just once again, be careful. You're not gonna feel your pulse with this. So you wanna be mindful that your carotid artery sits right in the anterior portion of the neck here. Also, we can do a little bit of work lying on a foam roll, and mainly we can get the posterior and the lateral portions of the neck. Oh, watch out for my mic here. And that would just be done like that. And if you find a specific area, you can kind of tack it down, and then you can move away from it to create more tension. Use your hand to help and create that length. And this can be actually very helpful for those of us that have really shortened cervical extensors, so the muscles in the back. If we have rounded shoulders and we sit with this forward posture, forward head, a lot of times those muscles are very tight and contracted. So getting a little bit of that feedback with the foam roll and then creating that length can help with the tissue, and this will help with your overall alignment and hopefully calm some of those neck structures down.